feedback form. This option will provide additional flexibility to those who are not able to attend the meetings in person to submit a written comment and then cannot submit a written comment in advance. The live feedback comments can be submitted online from 9 to 11 a.m. on the day of the meeting. And today it's already past 11 a.m., but we're going to keep it open just a little longer so that anyone who would like to submit a comment via this online form can do so, and I'll show you that in a minute. And these comments must adhere to the guidelines and will be collected and presented to the IACC before the public comment session in the afternoon. So the IACC members, you will receive a packet during the lunch hour that will have these live feedback comments in it. So just to show you the form, when you go to the IACC webcast that you can access from our website, from the IACC website or from NIH Videocast, when you go down to the bottom of the videocast, there's a little link that says live feedback, so you have to click on that. And then it'll open up this form, and you can submit a comment right online. So the advantage of this is that you don't have to do it in advance to a deadline. So this can be done on the day of the meeting, and you might even be able to comment on early sessions of the meeting. And for the guidelines, again, there's a link there that's provided for you. So we hope that this will provide a little bit of additional flexibility for those who are listening remotely. We really appreciate the many people around the country who do listen to our meetings and have important feedback and information to share with the committee. I also wanted to give you an update on disability accommodations, as this was a topic of discussion at a previous meeting. Just to reiterate, closed captioning is always available through the NIH Videocast, and you can access it through the little CC button at the bottom of the videocast, or it might be at the top. I think it's at the bottom of the videocast, and that has always been there since we started videocasting back in 2009. We also initiated a new feature, a quiet room, started in April 2018 at our IACC meetings and events. And to date, we've only had one user of the quiet room in one of our meetings, but perhaps it hadn't been publicized enough. We did put it on our materials, but just wanted to announce it here that we do have a quiet room for those who might need it, and you can ask for information about it from any of the staff who are in the meetings. We also started in October 2018 providing cart services, as this was brought to our attention that it might be helpful for certain individuals who are attending our meetings. The last meeting it was provided as within a remote application, a web application, and that is still being provided, but this time we also added a screen that is over to my right, and anyone who needs it can use it. Today it looks like we have no users in the room. However, there may be people logged onto the app, and you're welcome to use that. If you need information, please email our office about that for future meetings, and any other disability accommodations may be made available upon request. So just moving right along, I'd like to make an announcement that we have the 2016 IACC Autism Spectrum Disorder Research Portfolio Analysis Report that has just become available. This was just released. This is the first portfolio analysis report that is coding projects to the 23 new objectives in the strategic plan that you all put together in 2016 and 17. And to accompany the report, detailed 2016 project data are now available in the Autism Research Database that is accessible via the IACC website, so you're welcome to look at that. And members, you have a draft or a preview copy of the report at your table. We have not done the full printing run of this. If there's anybody on the audience who wants a paper copy, please leave your address with us and we'll mail it to you. Or anyone out there in the public who's listening in, you can just email us and send us your address and we'll send it. So just to give you very brief highlights of the report, the analysis includes data from 18 federal agencies and private organizations. And in the 2016 data set, we found that research funding totaled $364 million and included 1,360 projects. And federal agencies supported 80% of the overall funding that was analyzed in this report, which is similar to previous reports. This was the 9th report that we've done in OARC for this. So in 2016, federal agencies and private organizations supported research in all 7 of the IACC strategic plan question areas. And in 2016, question 2, biology, continued to be the most highly funded research area. And this pie chart shows you in more detail what the funding was for each section. I wanted to give you an update on the budget recommendation that the IACC made in the strategic plan. The 2016-17 IACC strategic plan calls for a doubling of the 2015 ASD research budget to $685 million by 2020, and this would cover federal agencies and private organizations that are funding research. To accomplish this goal, the committee recommended a nearly 15% annual increase in ASD research funding. And just to give you an update on what is happening with that, since 2015, funding for autism research has increased 6.3% in funding. So there's a similar figure inside the report. This table, I'm not going to give you all the information, but I put it in the slide set. It does not appear in the report, but it gives you an update on the funding levels for each of the strategic plan objectives and the project counts. And so anyone who wants to go back to this information can find it on the slide set when we post it on the web. In addition, the 2016 IACC ASD Research Portfolio Analysis Report includes a map displaying institutions involved in ASD research across the U.S., a list of countries that are receiving U.S. funding for ASD research, funder contributions aligned with the 7 strategic plan questions to give you an idea of the mission areas that are being accomplished by each of these funders, a subcategory analysis for each strategic plan question to show you what types of scientific and services research are being done, and ASD research funding trends from 2008 to 2016 arranged by strategic plan question. And at the bottom we have a link to the full report, and you're welcome to look at it there, and we have information that's also been sent out and will be going out about this report to make it available to everyone. Next, I'd like to share with you an update on the Autism Cares Act report to Congress, which is required in the Autism Cares Act. So this report will detail progress on activities related to ASD and other developmental disorders across the federal government. On behalf of HHS, OARC is coordinating responses from federal departments and agencies, and we've prepared this report. The report is in the final stages of completion, and we expect this report to be out shortly. And so you can be looking for this, and we will, of course, share it with you at the April IACC meeting. In addition, I wanted to share an update with you about the IAC Strategic Plan update, which is required by the Autism Cares Act as well, and we discussed this last time. The committee agreed that we would provide a short summary report of activities from 2018 within the IACC and progress that's been made on the strategic plan. And this report would include a summary of health outcomes, working group activities, and the workshop that was just held, a summary of the IACC portfolio analysis report, which I just shared with you, and a summary of the Autism Cares Act report to Congress. And so committee members will receive a draft for review and comments. The reason that you have not received it before this meeting is because we are waiting for this Autism Cares Act report to Congress to be cleared and published before we can share the information with people who are not part of the federal government. So we hope that we will be sending that to you shortly, but we have it basically ready to share with you as soon as that happens. And we expect the final publication to be in spring 2019, so we'll also be presenting that report to you in April. Other reports that OARC has in preparation include the 2017 IACC Portfolio Analysis Report. We really appreciate the contributions of many federal agencies and private organizations to this report. We've collected the data already, and we expect the final report soon, so we hope that this spring we will be able to share that report with you. And we also, that one is not expected in spring, that's expected this year. In the spring, we expect to share the 2016 International Portfolio Analysis Report with you, and that covers the U.S., Canada, and the U.K. And we will give you an update on that as soon as we have that. So the next update, just keeping us moving here, is improving health outcomes for individuals on the autism spectrum working group. So this working group has been meeting. So the IACC again voted to convene a working group on health and wellness issues for individuals with ASD, and Dr. David Amaral and Dr. Julie Taylor are co-chairs for this working group. And the working group is exploring ways to support research to better understand the health conditions that affect individuals on the autism spectrum, to increase community and provider awareness of these conditions and their treatment, and to foster development of practice guidelines, policies, service approaches, and other efforts to improve the health and quality of life for people on the autism spectrum and their families. So the scope that we went over last time is listed here: health and general wellness, co-occurring conditions, premature mortality, patient-provider interactions, and parental family mental health. Just to summarize activities that happened, we had a working group conference call on September 5th. We had a very nice workshop that I went over with you at the last meeting on September 27th, and we had a very nice discussion here in IACC about that, which was helpful. And the working group had another conference call on December 17th, and they discussed plans for their written product and plans for a workshop on mental health issues in ASD. So the remaining activities of this working group include working on this written document, and we are working together to develop a workshop around mental health conditions that will be taking place in spring 2019. We'll keep you updated on that as we develop the agenda for that and the dates, and we'll get those dates out to you as soon as we have them finalized. We also will be continuing discussions in the working group via conference call and IACC full committee meetings, and working group activities will run until September 2019, which is the term of this iteration of the committee. Next, I wanted to give you an update on the housing working group. So the IACC voted to convene a working group on housing issues for individuals with ASD, and it was very timely today having an update on some housing policies from CMS. The scope of this housing working group will be research and best practices on housing, implementation of current federal regulations, and housing issues faced by autistic individuals with more severe disabilities. Allison Singer has volunteered to serve as the chair of this working group. So this is a draft mission statement that has been developed for the housing working group, but it's subject to further refinement once the working group has been convened. So this draft is: in the autism community, we face a mounting housing crisis with a growing population of autistic adults with diverse needs, lacking appropriate living situations. The goal of this working group is to examine a wide variety of housing options and service models for people to develop strategies to achieve a broad array of supported housing options throughout all of our communities that enable autistic individuals to achieve person-centered outcomes. So the activities will include working group phone calls, possible in-person meeting or workshop, and potentially written documents, and the activities will run through September 2019. I have sent out an email to the committee asking for your nominations of individuals from the public stakeholder community as well as from federal agencies who would like to serve on this working group. If you have nominations to send me, I'm taking nominations for another couple of weeks. I gave you a deadline in my email, so please feel free to share those with us, and we will be convening this working group and getting started on this activity very shortly. So I think I did well on time getting through the information for this update. Now we have time for discussion.
Are there any questions or comments on any of the materials that Susan presented or on the housing work group? Dr. Eckhart.
I just wondered if there was any way we could get these portfolio analyses when they were less out of date in a sense. I mean, this is obviously hugely useful, but it would be more useful if it were 2017.
Of course. So the challenge for us is that we wait for federal data to close, and that doesn't happen until that fiscal year is already over. And there are some agencies that have even additional restrictions that don't allow us to even collect the data before a certain time. And so that's kind of what creates that lag, because we have to have finalized data from federal agencies. But we do our best to collect it quickly, and we really appreciate that many of the private organizations here and federal agencies do their best to get us this data as quickly as possible. And the data analysis also takes time, but we recognize that that it's always a little bit behind where you would feel is current. But because of the need to close the data out, we can't really start analyzing it until those data are available to us.
I think this update is simply tremendously useful. I mean, it's just trying to make something that's really good a little more possible.
Sure. We appreciate it, and we hope that you will find it useful. And we are working on 2017 now, so thank you for sending in your data. Jerry.
I just want to say how much we appreciate these analyses, and I can only imagine the work that goes into this. But and even, of course, it would be great to have it, last year's data. But really, it's a beautiful analysis, and thank you for all that hard work.
Thank you. Thank you to the OARC team for all the incredibly hard work they do to make this analysis as accurate and comprehensive as possible. John?
I would, I guess, just like to voice my disappointment that our working group on housing and our conversations on housing seem to have had very little effect on the government's position that somehow a person who is not developmentally disabled but who is receiving government housing assistance is able to live anywhere that has a certificate of occupancy that the government can pay rent to, and somehow an autistic person does not have that freedom of choice. And it is very troubling to me. I understand that there are some autistic people who are very disabled and they have guardians, and the guardians choose in what they believe is the autistic person's best interest. But outside of being under guardianship, it is not clear to me why this continues to be a matter for debate within the government. Why can we not choose freely where we wish to live if we are able to do so? And I just, you know, I don't know if it was you that I asked. I don't mean to seem, you know, offensive, but I said to the last person who made this presentation, why can't we get a straight answer on where autistic people, why can't we be free to choose where we want to live? Why does the government feel the need to interfere? And I'm still very disappointed. And I certainly don't speak for every autistic person, but I speak for a lot of autistic people who tell me that.
John, just so I'm clear on what you're talking about, is the regulations that were discussed earlier today, for example, on the need to meet certain sets of criteria in order to be eligible for this disability housing programs, etc. These are the restrictions that you're talking about?
Right. That's what I take issue with, Josh, because a person who's not developmentally disabled can receive government assistance, whether he wants to live on a farm, live in an apartment complex, live in a freestanding apartment. The only restriction I believe the government places is he can't live in a tent. He's got to live somewhere that's a legitimate residence. But
a legitimate residence does have definitions, different definitions than the ones that were elucidated earlier. But
correct.
That heat and running water and all the rest, right?
Right, but it doesn't have definitions that we apply to developmentally disabled people. We don't tell somebody in an apartment, we don't tell a college student who else will have access to his room when he locks the door. We don't tell people who are on welfare who can enter their apartment and who can tell them when they can and can't eat. I just think that we're losing sight of basic human rights here.
I'm wondering if you might like to discuss that a bit.
Sure, and I think I would say a couple of different things. I would assume that we are not treating individuals with a developmental disability. Well, let me start out by saying that the regulation I was talking about this morning for individuals receiving Medicaid-funded home and community-based services applies across the board regardless of why an individual is receiving those services. So the same criteria apply to individuals with a developmental disability, individuals who have aging-related health care issues, individuals with a mental health or substance use disorder, physical disability, traumatic brain injury, whatever. And so those same regulatory provisions, the same requirements for a person-centered plan, the same settings that could be determined to have institutional characteristics, those apply across all of the HCBS populations. The types of settings that we talked about in the guidance that gave examples of those that could be isolating, like farmstead communities, intentional communities, by and large, we've heard about those settings developed to provide services to people with an intellectual disability, and sometimes specific to people with autism. That's not to say that we intend to implement those regulatory requirements in a more restrictive way for people with developmental disabilities than other populations. It could be that a farmstead for people with a mental illness or substance use disorder looks the exact same way as a farmstead for individuals with an intellectual disability. Farmsteads. Partly, the regulation is designed to do exactly what you talked about, to remove the fact that you are an individual on a taxpayer-assisted program from infringing on your ability to decide when to eat, what to eat, who to interact with, whether to go to a particular place that day, whether to go to a different place from the place where the van associated with your setting is going.